The video game industry is horrible, just horrible. I hate video games now, every single one of them, as well as anyone who's ever played one, looked at one, or heard of one. But I'll tell you what I don't hate. This. Now how's that for some non-binary finery? I mean, seriously though, it's a fucking good hat. I'll tell you what isn't a good hat. Bobby Kotick. He's a bad pants. Badpants. Bobby Badpants. That's good. Craig, write that down. Bobby Badpants, associate of torture apologists. Ha, it's true. It's true. Very much like how Ubisoft CEO Yves Guillemot is a friend of sex pests and harassers and pervs. So yes, we're going to look at Activision Blizzard again because following the allegations we talked about in a previous video, all sorts of shit has happened. It's an amazing mess. I've done a lot of cuts in this. Then again, it's lots of close-ups so they can see the they, them. They better see it. That was my idea, that was. So, let's get to it. Let's have a look at what Bobby Badpants and the Torture Apology Tour has gotten up to. It remains the biggest story in video games currently and should very much be considered the biggest story of the year unless any other games company would like to step up and reveal itself to be even more of a scumbag coddling toxicity den. Activision Blizzard, one of the most successful game publishers in the world, faces horrifying allegations of abuse, mistreatment, bigotry and an overall culture steeped in men behaving like little boys in an extreme version of the horrible stories plaguing the entire industry from top to bottom. A few weeks ago, we discussed both these allegations and the overall culture of harm pervasive across both so-called AAA and independent game companies, and I won't detail the abuse again specifically because, quite honestly, I don't want to have to say that crap again. But suffice to say, the allegations have not gone away and Activision is desperately running damage control. Staff initiated a company walkout last week and even took small but potentially crucial steps towards unionization with the ABK Workers Alliance, organising employees across Activision, Blizzard and King Games in a bid to have their voices heard. The first thing ABK Alliance has done is call out Activision's decision to hire notorious union-busting lawyers WilmerHale to conduct a review of the company. WilmerHale has a reputation for representing the interests of some of the biggest companies in the world, including Amazon, a company particularly famous for mistreatment of workers. The point of a firm like WilmerHale is simply to cut the legs out from worker organisation. Corporations don't like it when labour is organised because exploiting compliant and leveraged labour is how they rake in profit. Keeping staff underpaid, undervalued and underrepresented is how companies across the game industry and beyond keep their margins low and profits high. And since we're in a world where labour is coerced under threat of starvation, workers often struggle to have their voices so much as be heard, let alone enjoy such things as job security, retirement, or in some extreme Amazon cases, goddamn bathroom breaks. Without a collective voice, workers cannot negotiate with their employers. With their workers unable to negotiate, employers can take advantage of hundreds, sometimes thousands of people at a time, knowing full well that many of them won't have a choice but to keep coming to work or find themselves unable to pay rent. Not that you can guarantee paying rent if you work for Activision Blizzard. After all, it's been known for years that many employees have had to choose between food and a roof over their heads thanks to how shittily they're paid, while billionaire CEO Bobby Kotick takes home tens of millions a year, plus bonuses. Activision Blizzard hiring a law firm known predominantly for keeping workers quite literally oppressed is a bad fucking look, but it's clear as day that Activision is looking out only for itself and hired lawyers that look out only for companies such as itself. Speaking of self-protection, by far the biggest thing Activision's tried to do to appease the masses and move on is to squeeze out former president of Blizzard, J. Allen Brack. Brack is known for his mealy-mouthed, fake apologies, smarmy demeanour tenure and questionable sense of style. At least that's how I choose to know him. When allegations gain traction to the degree they have at Activision, the jettisoning of men like Brack is to be expected. A few sacrificial lambs to the altar of public quelling. Make no mistake, as the president of Blizzard, J. Allen Brack, deserves to lose his job. He oversaw a company steeped in widespread bullying and harassment, mistreatment so virulent that it was no secret within the organization. It was literally the fucking culture. If Brack knew about it or engaged in it, he's a piece of fucking shit who deserves to be fired and to never hold a position of authority again. If Brack somehow didn't know about it, he's incompetent and useless and deserves to be fired and to never hold a position of authority again. However, the removal of J. Allen Brack, while deserved on his part, does literally nothing to fix years upon years of a corporate culture steeped in horrifying attitudes and dehumanization of employees. One man stepping down amidst a sea of bad actors means nothing. He is not the only leader at Activision Blizzard. The company retains many overpaid and overprivileged executives, many of whom have become obscenely rich through tax-dodging profiteering, enjoyed at the literal expense of their undervalued subordinates. One of the most notorious of these executives is Chief Compliance Officer Francis Townsend. Putting aside the shudder-worthy implications of any company having a compliance officer, Townsend is a fucking torture apologist who worked for the Bush administration and has gone on record defending its use of enforced nudity, sleep deprivation and waterboarding among prisoners. What an absolutely delightful person. In the wake of the abuse allegations, Fran I Love Waterboarding Townsend has routinely shown her fucking ass. Firstly, by rubbishing the allegations outright, claiming they painted a distorted and untrue picture of the company. Townsend's dismissive attitude was so offensive that even a heartless goon like Bobby Kotick called it tone deaf, but she continued to display her contempt for the workforce by blocking Activision Blizzard employees on Twitter. Something I'm reliably informed by a team of scientists is another one of those bad looks. Anyway, the most recent development involving Fran is that she is stepping down as the sponsor of the ABK Women's Network, an organisation for women at the company. It was laughable. That she was ever involved in the first place, given her loyalties to authority far outweigh her regard for human life, and more importantly, she continues to retain her high-ranking position at Activision, a company that I shall henceforth dub gaming's official home of torture apologists. But Townsend, very much like Brack, is just one of many executives who have overseen an abusive and harmful work environment. And to focus solely on a woman, albeit a really shitty woman, when this is a company steeped largely in overtly male abuse is a little off base. In truth, every single high-ranking executive at Activision Blizzard needs to fucking go, and nobody needs to go more than Bobby Kotick. Very much like with Ubisoft and its pervert-befriending CEO Yves Guillemot, the head of Activision Blizzard is ultimately the one who ran a company that hurt people badly for years on end. And he's now the one getting away without telling anybody how much he knew, how much he permitted, and how much he perpetuated. While Kotick makes a pleading show of authority now, while he acts as stunned and shocked as the rest of us, while he makes symbolic gestures of discipline with some high-profile dismissals, we need to remember that he ran this shit show. He ran this vile, hateful company. He continues to run it, and he'll never, ever face any lasting consequences for it. Shareholders love him, even as they organise their own lawsuit against the company for all the negative rep affecting the company's stock prices. Outside of that blip, and it will sadly be a blip, Kotick has enjoyed immense job security and fucking disgusting levels of financial bonuses, thanks to the overwhelming success of his ruthless money-making. Just this year, shareholders approved of the billionaire pocketing a $155 million bonus, one of the many free money presents Activision execs get for doing fuck all while their hardest workers struggle to eat. The approval was narrow, but narrow approval is rare in general, and Bobby still walked away with the money. Bobby is currently making a hand-wringing display of sorrow, very much like Ubisoft's slimy boss did before he moved on like nothing happened. And that's all these companies want. They want us to move on, forget it, and then buy their products again. That's all Activision cares about. They want to get this out the way so they can go back to promoting Call of Duty. We saw Ubisoft do the exact same thing. Hurry out an apology, make some symbolic gestures, and then immediately right back to pushing fucking Assassin's Creed, fucking Far Cry, and all the other fucking games I'll never buy again. I want to start by making it clear to everyone that there is no place at our company where discrimination, harassment, or unequal treatment of any kind will be tolerated, said the CEO of a company where discrimination, harassment, and unequal treatment has been tolerated. Our work environment, everywhere we operate, will not permit discrimination, harassment, or unequal treatment. We will be the company that sets the example for this in our industry. While we've taken many steps towards this objective already, fuck off. Today we are taking even more. Oh, how generous. Oh, how nice of you. You're going above and beyond the Call of Duty shit game series. Pretty little words for the torture apologist hiring overseer of a discriminatory hellhole protected by union busters. Meaningless words. Because for as long as Kotick remains in charge, Activision Blizzard will be run by a man that let terrible, terrible things happen for years on his watch, either through negligence or malice. He deserves to lose his job for the same reason Brack did. Either he's an inept boob who knew nothing about his own company culture, or he's a vile little shit who knew and did nothing to stop it. Firing his minions to set a so-called example is bullshit. He wants to set the example for how abuse in games should be dealt with? Well, he needs to step down. Anything less is a shallow, empty promise. I have, of course, called for Bobby to be fired before, but this time I say it without any churlishness. He deserves to be gone. He deserves to hold no position of authority. He is working now only to protect himself, to distance himself from a culture he led. Whether involved or not, he was the leadership here, and he fucking failed. The way Activision Blizzard has worked to protect itself in the fallout of these allegations is nakedly cynical. From the empty gesture of removing Brack to the hiring of Wilmer Hale to Bobby's blatant ducking of accountability, it's plain as day that Activision wants to stop things like, I don't know, Overwatch bleeding sponsors as it has done. As I've said in the past, organisation is the important first step as far as having any bargaining power over companies like Activision Blizzard. The ABK Alliance is something very, very important, and I wish them all the success in the world. Companies like Activision need to accept accountability, but they will never do so unless the labour they exploit can have a voice, unless the workers they keep suppressed can protect themselves and each other. Company walkouts, a unified voice, the message that access to one's labour should be considered a privilege and not a fucking right. These are what are crucially needed, and bless those ActiBliz employees who have set a real example for what should be done. Draw blood, hit their bottom line. You can never really take down a company like Activision, but with a unified workforce, you can fucking hurt them. And Activision deserves pain. Make no mistake, there is nothing Bobby Badpants and Eve I Love Pervs Jumeau would love more than for you all to forget about this shit and move on. I mean, in the case of Ubisoft, everyone did more or less forget about it and move on. But they shouldn't be allowed to just walk away from this. Ubisoft won't be fixed until Yves Jumeau is gone. I mean, literally. People like staff there are still reporting feeling unsafe, and they've been inspired somewhat by the Activision Blizzard walkout to start putting the pressure on Ubisoft again to fix this shit. But while the CEOs who oversaw all of this abuse remain in charge, I don't know how the culture is getting fixed. One thing we do know about the Ubisoft situation is that Yves did not care about any of these allegations. He did not care about the abuse, so long as those copy-pasted, busy work-filled open-world games continued to make money. If you made the company money, you could do whatever the fuck you like. And the same seems to be true of Activision. The CEOs in charge of these companies only care about making money. And I realize that sounds obvious, but you've got to understand the full implications of that. They only care about making money, no matter the non-financial cost. That is people's well-being, people's livelihoods, people's lives. They don't care because they're like machines. They are like robots whose only job is to print cash, and that has robbed them of any humanity they might have otherwise had. I guess what I'm trying to say is that something capitalism is bad. And also, I guess you could thank God for me if you're feeling saucy. None of you will be as saucy as my hat. This is some Heinz shit right here. Craig, get us a Heinz sponsorship.